Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. I don't have any slides, so that's it. But it means that I can pace the stage instead, which is just as good for me. So thank you very much for the invitation to come here this afternoon. And just as I was watching your video, I was reflecting that if there's ever a worthy charity, it's one like this, where in the last 3 years, 3 of my good friends have had children in their families who've been affected by childhood cancer, and 2 of those children are no longer with us. So it really brings home that message to me, that the work that charities like this do is a really important one. But I'm here to talk to you about what we do at EMG Solicitors, which is a little law firm based in Durham and Gosforth, and shortly to be based in Penrith as well, and how we approach our corporate social responsibility agenda. So first of all, I was asked to say, why is CSR work important? And it felt like such a self-evident point. Why on earth wouldn't it be important? But I guess it isn't to everybody. That it isn't necessarily important or obvious why you should give back. But there are some things that happen to people where you can see, like with childhood cancer, that's there, but for the grace of God go any of us. That's no one's fault. It wasn't brought about by anything in particular. It just happened. And that's why we have a duty to help. There are other things that you perhaps might look at and think, well, you know, actually, that's their fault. Or they could have tried a bit harder, or they haven't made the most of their opportunities, and that's why they find themselves in poverty. My job is working with people with brain injuries through all sorts of reasons. And what I can tell you from what I see is that much of what goes on is not anybody's fault. Not everybody is born with equality of opportunity. And certainly not everybody in the North East is born with equality of opportunity. And that's why it's really important to give back, because we could all have found ourselves in a very similar position to many of the families that we look at. And we have our duty to do our bit, in my opinion. So that's why I think it's obvious, but perhaps it isn't always. In my business, we run a business, so we make money. That's one of our aims. We are a profitable business. But we make our money from our community, nationally and locally. And therefore, in my view, we have a duty to give back to the community that we make our money in. We get our employees from our community. And therefore, we have a duty to give back to the community that provides our workers to us. And we live and work and site ourselves physically in our community, and therefore we take resources out of our community, so we should give back for those reasons as well. So they're all reasons to me why it's really important. I think it's very important then to think about also what impact it has on your employees to give back, to do something for the community. And for me, it's lovely for our team that we have a fund with the County Durham Community Foundation, and we donate 5% of our profits to that fund every year. And we can do various bits of fundraising and put extra money in and things like that as well if we want to. But the way that we distribute funds from that Community Foundation pot is that we have a team, and we rotate it every 2 years, so anybody can apply to be part of the team, and then we jointly meet every quarter and we look at the funding applications that we've received, and we jointly take decisions as to how those monies are distributed. And what that means for the people who are directly involved is that they feel like they've really influenced how our money is being used. We've decided together, as a firm, when we originally set the pot up, we decided together as a firm the objectives that we wanted to support, which was 3 things. We wanted to support young people, and we wanted to support old people, and we wanted to empower women in particular. And if anybody ever looks at the website of EMG and sees just how many women we employ, I think you'll probably gather why that would be the case, because we are very female-centric, and that comes from being founded by 2 working mums. And therefore, you know, we knew that the challenges that were faced. So they're the 3 objectives. And I think it is important to try and define some objectives, because otherwise it can be very wide-ranging and it can be a bit bitty and it can be hard to engage people. So we found 3 things that we feel particularly passionately about in our fund. And then we receive, as I say, the funding applications. We meet quarterly, and we talk about how we're going to give our money away. And what that means is that after we've done that, we can then feed back to our team, and we have quarterly meetings with the firm where we get to tell everybody what we've done, and we get to show them the pictures, because we get to go out and people have opportunities to go and meet the project. So we've funded the refurbishment of local community football club grounds. We've done some lovely stuff with taking walking boots into children's organisations for children who would never otherwise get to go out walking. We did a really nice piece of work where we funded a local stick-making group in the Durham community, which was full of some elderly gentlemen who were meeting to carve wood on a regular basis. And we were presented with a very lovely shepherd's crook as a result of that, which, because we're about to open an office in Penrith, will be perfect on the wall, because our head of business development wants a moss wall, which is known as kind of, the moss wall in the firm, and nobody quite understands it, but the shepherd's crook is going to sit against the moss wall, and it's all going to dovetail together quite nicely. My son's 8 and he wanted to go into school and he had to dress up as something. He was going as a Greek god and he needed a crook for that. And I did ask if I was permitted to take the shepherd's crook in. And I was very hotly turned down and told there was no way that the crook was going to go anywhere with an 8-year-old boy who would probably spend the day kind of getting hold of his colleagues by the neck. So what that means, though, is that both our people who are making the decisions and also the people in the firm get to see the results of the fruits of their labours. And feel like they've put into something, because actually our people work hard to generate our profits, and our profits are going back into our funds, so they know that they've been part of creating that, and that's really nice to see. And they know they've been part of the decision making as well. I think the other thing, and Richard touched on this, is it is really good for your client relationships. And yes, that's a lot to do with money, but that's also to do with creating a sustainable business, one that will continue for the long term, one that will continue to generate profits. And if you're ploughing your profits back into your community in some way, or into charitable organisations that mean something to you, then that's so much for the better. People want to work now with organisations that they feel can help them feel good about themselves, can fulfil a higher purpose. And if they know that a little bit of what they're paying you goes into that bigger purpose, then that's so much the better, really. So how did we put our charitable giving into practice? We did various things. Initially, you can probably tell from the accent, I'm not from the Northeast, I'm from Manchester. And when I moved up to the Northeast, I didn't miss it because I go back to it every year, but there is a ball in Manchester which is run by the Spinal Injuries Association. It's called the Cornflower Ball. It isn't just an opportunity for me, but it involves a great opportunity for me to go back, have a really good drink with all of my colleagues from Manchester and have a great night out. And I was worried about missing the Cornflower Ball because I like it so much. And because we were working in the field of brain injury, I was very conscious that there wasn't really a fundraising ball in the Northeast that worked in the field of brain injury. We had very close links in with Headway, which is a charity that works in the field of brain injury. They do a lovely weekend once a year called the Look Ahead in the North weekend, which is where they take a group of brain injury survivors. They all go up to the Calvert Trust at Kielder. They all do things that they never thought they were ever in this world going to be able to do again. And everyone has a fab time, and it lifts them, and it builds confidence, and it builds relationships. But they were a bit short of funding. So put my desire for a great night out, coupled with a charity that needed some money, and what was born for us was called the Wonderland Ball. Wonderland because it was to fund the Look Ahead in the North, LAN, weekend. And so the very first year was Alice in Wonderland themed. We got Bucks Fizz. I don't mean the drink, I mean the actual band. There are some of you that might look a little bit perplexed if you were born in about 1990 onwards, but other than that, everybody knows what I'm on about. We got Bucks Fizz. We had about 180 people. We did some fundraising. We raised a small amount of money for LAN, but so the Wonderland Ball was begun. And this year will be ball number 7. Which is being held at the Fed Brewery, and it's a disco-themed ball. Just got my outfit, very excited about the situation. So the Wonderland Ball was begun, and my only criteria for that was that it was not to be chicken in sauce, and that everybody was to have a really good time. And actually, the focus of the evening is not fundraising. The focus of the evening is to have a great time, because if you do that, you will raise money. And actually people will want to come back and do the same thing again next year. So we set the Wonderland Ball in motion. At the same time, we also became corporate baton holders for Headway, which lasts for 12 months, and we did some fundraising for them. We did some stuff with St Oswald's Hospice in Gosforth, where I got very excited. I had small children at the time. They were running the Snow Dog Trail, for anybody who remembers that. Got a bit overexcited at the auction and bought myself a Spocky Snow Dog, which currently resides in our Durham office. And then we did the same thing a couple of years ago when they did the Elmer Trail, and now we have one in our window in Gosforth. Coincidentally, they're going to run another trail just at the time when we're opening our third office. So I can't tell you what it's going to be, but it's going to be a good trail in a couple of years' time, and we're going to look forward to that. So there are bits and pieces that we've done for charity along the way. But then in 2019, we knew that we'd done some brain injury focused stuff, which was great because our firm focuses very heavily on that. But we decided that what we really wanted to do was look at our community, because as our firm had expanded, we'd begun to do more regular legal work, the kind of work that you think about when you think about lawyers, obviously being parasites, that's what we are, but parasitically living off your misery of divorce, or making your life a misery when you want to buy a house, or if you think that's bad, then you have to go and see a lawyer if you want to write a will. It's all great news. But we knew that if we could, we wanted to do something good in our communities from all of that. And so we got together with the County Durham Community Foundation, and that was how we set our fund up in 2019. So this is, we donated some 2019 and 2020 profits into it, and we're just about to make our 2021 donation into it. And that's been really nice. That's been a grant-making fund until this year, when Michelle Cooper from the CDCF has sat me down and persuaded us to open up an endowment fund as well. I'm sure pretty much everybody in this room will know what the difference is, but just in case you don't, a grant-making fund is one where everything that comes in goes out again. That's brilliant. However, an endowment fund is a bigger objective, and I love a bigger objective. So an endowment fund is one where what comes in, about 60% of it will go out initially, but the other 40% will be held back and will be saved instead. And that will happen year on year, and it will be invested. And at a function that Emma was at, that I was speaking at a while ago, I did manage to give voice to my little secret desire, which I've now begun to make a little bit more public, that what I would like to build is an endowment fund worth £1 million. That's a really big ask. It's going to take a very long time to do that. It may well even take beyond my working life to do that. But if we can do that, we've gone from being an organisation that has an impact right now to being an organisation that has an impact potentially forever. And that's brilliant. That's what I would like to do. I would like us to leave something behind. So that's my goal, and the more I say it, I'm going to do that thing where it happens if you say it. So it will happen, it just might take a little while. So then I was thinking about what advice I would give to anybody who's thinking about bringing corporate social responsibility to their agenda. And I came up with 3 things. The first thing is that I'm guessing that a lot of you work within businesses, right? So when you're in a business, your business exists to make money. So whatever you do, it can't put your business at risk, okay? Your thing that you choose to do, it has to be affordable. But that's okay. Small steps can be really affordable, and that's all right. And from small steps, you can build big steps. So do something that's affordable, but do something. That would be my big takeaway message. Secondly, be authentic. And I'm not a great user of the word authentic and authenticity. It's a bit overused, isn't it? But do something that's important to you, something that resonates. You've heard what Richard said about what Greggs do and how that sits with who the Greggs people are. And we believe at EMG that what we do sits and is important to us because we've gone back and spoken to our people about it, and it's what's important to them. So don't just do it because I've stood here and told you it's the right thing to do. Do it because it feels right within your business and it feels right to your people. And that's why it's something that will have some longevity. And thirdly, whatever you do, have a good time doing it. Because if you have a good time, if you enjoy the fundraising, if you make it worthwhile, then people will want to continue it. And that surely is the most important thing. Thank you so much for your time.